Okay, well, good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I could not be here yesterday for the opening. I was actually in transit coming in from Japan, where I was leading a similar meeting, but on using wireless to transform healthcare. And so all our friends in Japan know about this, and through this meeting, I'm hoping they're going to learn more. The second thing I want to say is, Suchit, don't be too generous, man. It's the San Diego Summit, and that's that. I mean, our friends from up north can endure. Look, I rode 10 hours in an airplane. I think they can manage an hour and 35 to get the hell down here. So if I have anything to say, no, it's not going to alternate. But hey, we'll let the negotiations continue. But the answer is still no. But continue to negotiate. And the answer is still no. All right. So all silliness and all jokes aside, first off, it is really great that we got this summit going. And what is important about a summit? Well, many of us know that there's a Brooklyn Summit every year, hosted by NYU and assisted by Nokia. Many of us, but maybe not all of us, know that there's going to be a UT Austin, an Austin Summit, and that's supported by Ericsson. And since, as you can imagine, I think San Diego is the lead of the organizations, there's no way in hell we're not going to have a summit. That's why it's got to be a San Diego Summit. And we're very pleased to have the support of not only Qualcomm, but a large number of industry sponsors, as you see there. This summit, in my mind, has a very important role. Now, we all have been talking about a 3- or 4-way collision of technologies that's going to transform the way we communicate. All right, so first it was, hey, what about the edge? How is the edge going to involve everything? And that turns into Open RAN and a whole bunch of other things. But then, the hyperscalers have the data most of the time, right? I mean, anyone here from a provider, AT&T, Verizon, somebody? It's not a trick question. I just want to make sure I'm speaking in your presence. Okay, yeah, they probably heard I was coming today. I have heard that when you make a phone call or do most operations with your smartphone, the service providers actually have possession of your data for about 1% of the time. 99%, it's somewhere else. So the providers are a very important interface. But a lot of the heavy lifting is being done by these other machines in the background. And so now I say, well, wait a second. Hyperscalers, mobile communications at the edge, O-RAN, optical fiber networks, these are all going to change the way communication occurs. And they have been. And I think as we go forward, we're going to see those changes more and more explicitly affecting how we develop standards. The final thing is that, and again, many of us realize this, but we never thought it would come so quickly. AI or AI-based apps are going to be really occupying a lot of the edge in the future. And it will occupy it 3 different ways. So first, hey, there'll be AI agents on your phone, which will look like a computational rich and power rich resource, even though we know a cell phone is a master at doing a lot with just a little bit. The battery there is not that big. But if you look at, and I'll offer this as approximate numbers, I have no special market data, but I'll just think that I don't think anyone would disagree with this characterization. We may or may not build 800, 700, 900 million cell phones a year. But I'm telling you, the volume at the edge is going to be 2 trillion. 10 years ago, I started the Trillion Sensor Summit and ran that for 3 or 4 years, all on the prospects of, wait a minute, there's going to be 1 trillion sensors at the edge, and what are we going to do to communicate with them? That number is even higher today. And literally 40 hours ago, I was in Japan talking about how wireless at the edge was going to transform healthcare. So the future of communication, the future of telecommunication is going to be very, very, very different. I'm not even going to get in the middle of a battle between Wi-Fi and 6G. That's going to be, I think, a small skirmish compared to the big changes that are coming. UC San Diego has a major research footprint in every one of those 5 technologies that I mentioned. First I thought it was 3, then 4. Now it's 5 different things that are going to collide. It's actually would be a grievous sin of omission not to have a summit here. Because in this summit and in future summits, we're going to be able to bring a lot of technical experts into the presentations. And I think it's important for us to sort out how all this stuff is going to fit together. Now, I'll start closing by saying, I don't think for an instant that UC San Diego is going to define that future. But I think that it is our responsibility and well within our ability to inform that future. And this summit is the beginning of that process. At a future summit, maybe the next one, I would love to give a report out on how communications at the edge is starting to transform healthcare, since I'm in the middle of that maelstrom as well. And I make a promise to all of you that either myself or an extremely credentialed designee would be able to bring to you a special report. And we will describe, and I'll end on this note. Imagine that I had a test trial by the UC San Diego Health System with 10,000 patients who signed up to have their metabolisms monitored 24/7. Imagine all the work, imagine all the information you could gather, especially if those sensors were not, and I don't mean this as an insult, but I'll mean it as a point of contrast. Those sensors were not toys. They were FDA approved, clinically tested, able to stream data into the medical health record system, not into your cell phone. So imagine that. Well, you don't have to imagine more than half of it, because we're already at 3,600 patients signed up in a 10,000 patient trial that's being assembled right now. So hopefully at the next summit, I'll be able to give you some very, very interesting results from how that changes, and then start thinking about how all this technology makes possible several killer apps that we've been yearning for and have not yet reached. So thank you very much. This is an important meeting in my mind, and I'm sorry that I was unable to give these messages directly to everyone who was here yesterday but not here today. Thank you, Sujit, for the opportunity.